Welcome to the Waves of Change podcast, where we aim to inspire the listener to awaken to their purpose and take the action required to live life on their own terms. My name is Darragh Byrne, confidence and mindset coach, speaker, entrepreneur and humanitarian. I will be sitting down with creators from all walks of life who grew through the waves of change in their lives to be making the impact in the world they are today. We acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Ciara Nation as the traditional custodians of the country we are speaking on today. We recognise their continued connection to the land and waters and thank them for protecting this coastline and its ecosystem since time began. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging and extend that respect to all First Nations people who may listen today. Dave, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome onto the Waves of Change podcast. For anybody that doesn't know, when they were making the movie The Zoolander, they came to Dave for directions on how to blue steel. So Dave, thank you.
You know, baby.
You know, baby. How are you doing, brother?
Yeah, life's good. You know yourself, man. It's a wild climate these days.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Maybe I might just move a little bit there. Look, I've got my gorgeous mask on the wall there behind me.
I like it, yeah. I've been looking at a lot of that stuff.
It's an ancient piece from Africa that we got in a safari. There's a safari here down in Canberra. And what it is a refuge. Is that what it's called? So it's a rescue safari. So all of the animals on there have been saved. They've got like snow leopards. One of them has one eye. They've got sharks and crocodiles. And yeah, it was a guy who was loaded pretty much and fell in love with Africa. And he set up and save. I can't remember the name of them. There's a name for them, but all the animals, all the lions, everything there that he saved from death. And you can go and stay. So
like him already.
It used to be his house, personal house, and his personal collection. And then it grew too big, so he turned it into like a zoo/enclosure. So you stay in the bedrooms, and like there's a line on the other side of the window. You go down the restaurant for dinner, and there's two white lines in one enclosure, and there's two hyenas in the other. But they're right there, like they're fucking couple of feet away.
On our honeymoon, we went on safari. It was savage. But they're all about leaving everything. You're not allowed to feed them. So everything has to find its own way in the cycle.
Yeah.
It was mad.
Yeah. Nature's way. Where was that?
Absolutely, yeah. No, that was in South Africa. It was up in a place. Oh,
I was seeing some of them photos.
God, it'll come back to me.
Yeah, I remember there was one particular post that stuck out. I think the locals had to thank you for gracing the land. Was that right?
They started singing songs. All right, it was good.
Oh, I remember there was something that was fucking. I remember having a great.
Was that doing my South African accent?
That's what it was. Yeah. Yeah, you were doing the South African accent. I think there was a bit of what was his name in the English guy that does all the David Attenborough. Adebayo design.
Oh yeah, that's right. the Carriga Reserve, Animal Reserve. That's where we went to. It's cool.
brilliant, brilliant. There's a different connection with these big animals, isn't there? Any
Oh
animals,
yeah,
really. I mean, I find there's something super spiritual about them.
definitely. And when you see them there and they're just doing their thing, they're just out there. And a lot of the time they spend, all they want to do is rest and then go get the food and then
Mm.
rest and obviously reproduce and stuff like that. And that's brilliant in itself to see how all that works too, and how there's the pride and who's in charge and who's the alpha and all that crack. It's very interesting.
And then you've got humans who went and super bleeding complicated life.
Yeah,
They come
yeah,
along
big
with
time.
egos. Yeah, come along with egos
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then decide to destroy the planet for capital
absolutely.
gain. But Dave, let's
Yeah.
bring it back to your story, brother. Tell us a bit about yourself and your childhood. Where did you grow up? What was life like for you, bro?
I had a happy childhood, thank God. Very lucky. Two great parents, lovely brother. Um, we're out in West Dublin, countryside, so we're between Blessington and Dublin. We're a mile or two from Wicklow, Dublin, Kildare border. We're little border foxes. And
Mm,
I went to school in Rathmines, so we got the bus in every morning at 7 in the morning. And we're shunned by both communities, as I say. We were called boggers by the lads in school, and then we'd be jackines when we were back at home. So, you know, this was the, these were the barriers I had to break down in an early age. No, great childhood, great childhood. My father unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. He got motor neuron, only 66, so that was a kick in the stones. But Mum is still alive and kicking. She had just beaten cancer at the time, and then
mm,
Kevo got sick. And that motor neuron's a horrible thing. It happens. It takes it out of you. Not like, it was terrible to watch it happen, obviously. And, you're there for people at the time, but it was tough going, especially for my mum. And seeing my dad, he'd worked all his life, and just as he got to retirement, his voice started going. And in 2 years, and it was a bad 2 years because you just get worse by the day, and there's nothing you can do about it. So for a man who never asked any for anything and just wanted to live his life and retire, it was a tough one. But he left us in good stead anyway. He didn't leave any. There was no bits on the side coming up looking for a few bob or anything like that. No, all joking aside, he was great. He was great.
yeah,
Didn't leave any
yeah.
bills or any of that crack.
There was he left enough for the coffin, did he?
Well, that's it. Well, we're back. Myself and Ciara moved back to the homeland, so we're up
Yeah.
here in the hills now, because we're the fourth generation here now. So I'm in my
Brilliant.
granddad's. Yes, I'm in my granddad's house, and he died in 2003,
Ah,
and I went to Rack and Ruin, so we did it up. And myself and Ciara in this little cottage here, and we know it. Got the chickens out the back, and Roxy. And
yes.
Roxy, well, the chicken story is
Uh,
gas, because the chickens, we got these four chickens and went up to Poulafuca to get them in this farm. It was great. You'd love it. There was all these pigs everywhere and everything. And these fellas sell us the pigs, and sell us the birds. And I says, I want one of them little ones. These ones called bantams, and they have little hairy. They've got feathers on their feet,
yeah,
so when
yeah.
they
No
walk, they go pop
fancy
pop 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 pop.
fucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like to wear flares. And everyone says, "Oh, they're not for
Of
sale." I
course you
says, "Ah, come
wanted
on,
one
give
of
us."
them, yeah.
I says, "Give us two of them." I give us two other ones, and he sold us two big ones. One of them, she hasn't laid an egg once. The other one, Roisin Dove, she's going well. She's a good layer. And the other two, we had the little fellas, right? Roxy didn't know what they were, so Roxy's looking in the chicken coop, and I says, right, I had to go off to the dentist. Ciara went to work, and I came back, and I see feathers everywhere, right? And I'm like, oh Jesus! And I walk over to the chicken coop, and there's a hole in the fucking side of it, and Roxy had fucking got in, and I had locked it, betting it down, everything. But she broke into it, got one of the chickens, did a number on it, right? The other three are traumatized, missing in the hedge. Eventually, a day later, right, Roxy's in the middle of all the chickens and their friends. The chickens won't come near me, right? So I feed them. I clean out their coop, and I don't get any FaceTime, right? And Roxy's in the middle of it, and I'm like, I'm looking at this going, she killed one of your buddies. I'm the one here paying the bills. Funny old world, isn't it?
Well, this is nature, isn't it? No surrender, and yeah. Well, can you quickly tell the listener what Roxy and who Roxy is?
Oh, sorry, Roxy's my Staffordshire Terrier. She's a great little yoke. We got her during the lockdown. We were living in Camden Street at the time, and that was great. But when lockdown came in, you weren't allowed to leave between 5 kilometres of your house. You know, this crack was going on here. It was 2 kilometres from.
Was it? Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's madness. So Ciara says to me one night, we were having a few drinks. She says, I want to get a dog. I said, well, we can't have a dog in the apartment. So we eventually agreed we'd move back here if that worked. So we went off to Meath and we picked up Roxy. 2 kilometres or no 2 kilometres. That was an essential journey as far as I was concerned.
Of course, yeah.
And your man says to me, he goes, you won't make it. He says, they're coming from all over the country to try and buy this dog. I says, I'll get the dog, don't worry about it. So I went on to Google Maps and I was there looking at Google Maps and I was going, right, this is one of the tricks from the old days, you know yourself. And I saw where the checkpoints were and I was like, we won't be going them routes because it was all red.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you knew from the traffic.
So went on a right jaunt and we came back with the dog and that was that.
Brilliant. You highlighted a blatant absolute perfect thing, part of what the whole podcast is about, and that's around your father. But I will come back to that. Your father and life and retirement, and you know the old systemic societal way of, you know, you get to retirement and then you go and live your life. This is part of why I do what I do, is to bring awareness and highlight that as bullshit. Not for everybody, but just to recognize that the time in between is what's most important. Currency and all of those things you can always make, and money and jobs and careers and all of those things you can change, but getting that time back, you can't. So I will come back to that. But for now, Dave, tell us a bit more about your childhood, and even as small as that. Saoirse was the same, you know. She lived out in Dunleary, and out there they called her a county because she wanted to hang around in town. And in Dunleary, what did they? In town they called her a posse. You know what I mean? But even as small as that may seem, how to not fitting in, because that's the underlying trauma that comes with those type of things. What was it like for you to be between those worlds?
To be honest with you, it was great. I never had a problem with it. I'm very lucky. We went in, myself and my brother, we played rugby, made great friends. We were lucky we were in a school that, you know, people were very nice. I have to say, very happy childhood. Didn't do a lot of homework. Did a lot of played a lot of rugby and got a lot of attention, and that was pretty much me. I copied my homework every morning, and did I live to regret that? Yeah, pretty much. Stumbled through the leaving cert, but I only ever wanted to sell cars. That was it. So, you know, this is what, in 1999, 2000. All I wanted to do was sell cars. I love cars. My father used to fix them, and I was like, there's a few quid in it. You're talking to people, and who doesn't want to have a car when you're 18? So that was my buzz. So I got into selling cars. It was good to me. Worked hard at it, working every Saturday and that, like Monday, every 6 days a week. Tough game. You make a mistake in that, and you know it's thousands, and your boss, like you have to make money. Like, it's sales hardcore, you know what I mean? And if you're not doing the business, like, people often say to me, is it hard selling cars? I'm like, look, you either can or you can't. Like, people think it's just, come in here, have a look at this. No, you have to look at trade-ins. There's always somebody trying to catch you, you know? If a fella goes to his mechanic and there's a problem with his car, he says, trade that in. You're always on high alert, you know what I mean? It's the
Ah.
customers that are dodgy. It's not the car dealers most of the time, believe it or not.
So they're trying to
Because
load
they
you
know
with
where I am.
that old junk.
Oh yeah. Because I'd never ring a fella back and say the gearbox is gone at that. That's up to me to find out. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm like, you're the
Okay.
professional. I didn't know. Do you know? So you learn fairly quickly.
Yeah.
But it's
I'm
great
with you.
business.
Yeah,
But
I'm with you.
and then I got into I was always into my art and took 2 years out to do art full time. While I was doing that, I worked in a barber's and a restaurant to make a few quid.
Mm.
Got that up and running. Enjoyed it. Had a few exhibitions. Knew that to make a living, to give me the money that I want, to do the things I like doing and go on holidays with missus and stuff like that. Like, you know, I wouldn't be too materialistic. I like to live fairly lean in that kind of way, but I like to have a few bob too. And you know, sure, you could spend a few quid on a weekend on a night out or anywhere. You know, money doesn't last long. But
Yeah.
I also had to weigh up, you know, is because once you start making something your career, you can fall into the trap of doing work that doesn't really have any bollocks, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
you're just back doing, you know, if I wanted to do pictures of James Joyce all day, every day and sell them to American tourists, I'd make a living. But
Mm-hmm.
am I really an artist then? No, I'm back at work again. You know, to create something that you believe in, often you don't get paid what you want for it. So I wasn't going to give up the art and I wasn't going to give up the money because I want to have a house and I want to, you know, I want to do these things. Like to make, say, 40 grand a year as an artist, you'd be actually be quite a good artist, believe it or not. It's actually
Mm.
very hard to get that. I couldn't get that, but I knew I'd make far more than that selling cars. So I said, right, let's do both. So I went back and did both again and go to work, come home, paint me pictures, go back to work. Any spare time, I'd be thinking of an idea, draw and stuff, blah, 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 and go home, get the jazz on and start painting again.
Yeah.
Which
Jazz on the
this
glass
is
of
the other
red.
side of it. Absolutely, but this is the other side of it. Like anything you try in business, if you don't love it and you wouldn't do it for free, you're probably not going to survive
Mm-hmm.
because to get through the crap, like it's so hard to make money, especially working for yourself, very, very hard. And if you can't do it and have a belief and just go, look, I'm doing it for the right reasons. If you're doing it to try and make ends meet, you might run into a bit of trouble. But like definitely creativity, you will. But if you just go in and just go, I'm into this, this is what I do. I'm doing it for my reasons, whether it's anything, whatever it is. I
Mm.
know there's a lot of people saying, oh, I'll make a hustle and make a side. Look, not everybody has to do that. I mean, it's not all about the dough, you know, but what you do with your time is very important.
Mm.
Like I could
That's
sit
right.
around and look at Netflix, and I do that too. But you know, I'm looking at other things happening. I'm not actually doing it myself. Now, if you can get into a good show, don't get me wrong. Like say Anthony Bourdain, Places Unknown, that's very good. It's very educational. It's enjoyable. But like looking at, I don't know, some Netflix binge thing, you're really going to come away from it empty. You're eating crap looking at it. And you're
Mm.
just looking at the world go by. Do you know what I mean? So if you can find something that you can do in your spare time that you actually get a buzz out of, whether it's making a chair or knitting or something, it's good for you. Training, doing
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. It's part of your human growth. You know what, Dave? I'm the exact same, man. I watching a film is like it's I see a film as what is it costing me in that moment. It's very, unless
Yeah,
it's with the kids, and even then, unless it's a kids film and it's with the kids, or either it's a documentary or it's something educational that I'm going to grow and learn from, or it's not
yeah,
going on. We've lived here for 6 years and now we don't have our telly is not connected. We
yeah,
our telly is not connected to anything, um, and that type of stuff. So I definitely feel you on that. And just to bring it back to the love of doing and following your purpose. Art, I'm guessing, is your purpose from what you've said. But what was it like to change? This is bingo, like the waves of change. is the name of the podcast, and this is what we're highlighting for the listeners: is the you know, embracing the change in life, trusting your intuition.
I just wanted to do it. My goal at the start was to have an exhibition. I said to myself, you know, I used to draw a lot in school and I was very good at it, but I didn't follow it through after that. And I got back into started doing art classes in the evening, around late 2000s. So that was 10 years off. And I went back in and started learning how to draw again. Went to life classes and that kind of thing. And then I studied colour theory a lot. So I basically did online courses and stuff like that without getting the degrees. It was just, I found art courses that people were getting degrees in. I basically did them myself. I got the information without doing the exams, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you here.
So I did all that in the background, colour theory and things like that. And like half it's gone in, I went out again. But at the time, it was good for me and just to try and learn some structure. Then I started just going for it. I said, you know, I'm going to have an exhibition. I have a few quid because I work. I'm going to find out how this is done. And had an exhibition in the Copper House in Camden Street. And that was a great day. To get them up on the walls and get them framed. That was a proud day. But when people hear you're doing it, a lot of people think you're mad, you know, and see, this is the other side of it. They mean well and all, but you can tell that people are like, you're what? And like this was kind of before there's a lot more awareness about it being all right to try different things now. But you know, people will listen, if you think about what people think about you, you're never going to do anything.
Yes.
And, you know, if you never want criticism, say nothing, do nothing, you'll be grand.
Same
But
job.
Who cares?
Mm.
Yeah, but do it for yourself and have your own ideas. But if you do it to impress people, that's not going to get you through the bad days because it's too hard. You do it for yourself. And when the work is done, funnily enough, there's about an hour where you're like, this is great. And then you're like, okay, let's go. What's next? And that's the best thing. And that's we were saying earlier, it is the journey. I know it's a bit cliche to say that stuff, but it really is. When you're there battling away, coming up with an idea and something like that, and then it happens. Like Ciara will hear me screaming and hooping sometimes because I'm down and thinking, oh, I've got it. Like something's after happening in a painting that I've been trying to hit. And it could take 5 or 6 attempts, and you'd be at it for weeks, months. Some of them, some paintings I've spent 2 years on. I just haven't had them right. But you know, it's mine. My attitude: if they sell, they sell. Like, say, I often get people emailing me saying, "Here, I'm an artist too. How do you price your work?" I'm like, I don't know, man, because some stuff, as in like they're trying to think what to do. I'm like, look. If you did it by how much you charge per hour for how long painting takes you, you'd probably end up making £4 an hour. So you're not going to survive on that. So you better like what you're doing. And the odd time, if you do enough work and you enjoy doing it, you don't mind. And then the odd time somebody will give you a few quid for one, and you're like, okay, that buys you some more paint, and you get a few more quid in again. Like, don't get me wrong, I get a few bob out of it. But could I survive on it? Absolutely not. It led into the handbags. So I turned some of the art into handbags. That was fun. That's a little learner, but it's also, but if you add it all together, you're doing okay. And I'm enjoying it, you know. So got into Vogue with the handbags. That was mad. Yeah. Things like that. Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. Yeah. So that was fun. And like, you know, they're going to, like, most of 70% of my bags now are sold into, like, so 2 of them went to Illinois last week and Florida and all sorts of stuff. It's mad.
Brilliant. They're proper art collectors, and what they would call staple pieces in the wardrobe, would they?
Maybe.
So 2 things, right? I'll quickly touch on how Vogue came about. So Vogue, everyone knows who Vogue is. I think it's what's it, a magazine? Is it a fashion magazine or a fashion runway?
The Fashion
show?
Bible.
The Fashion Bible.
Yeah, it was British Vogue.
And there's out there from Rathmines, the bogger from Rathmines, swinging bags.
Yeah, this is the
swinging
thing.
bags around the cover.
So I said to myself, I found out about this guy in London who printed designs on leather, And I was like, okay, put it in a handbag. He says, I'm actually going to be doing that soon. So I says, right, I'll send you the design, send me back a proof, back and forth. And he goes, yeah, grand, done. So next thing, I've got these little bags going. I should have had one here with me. But anyway, and the paintings are on them. And next thing, I says, do you know what? Let's do it. So I had done 3 exhibitions in the art. And I said to myself, the 4th one is going to be this Druce, which is the Irish for lust. So, so I said to a mate of mine, Dylan, he's a photographer, Dylan Madden. He's a really good photographer. He works over with Barry McCall. Barry McCall is one of the best photographers in the country, the fashion photographers and hairdressing photographers. And he has a place in Bond Street. I says, listen, how much, I was talking to him one night, and I says, how much would it cost to do a shoot like this? And I showed him a few images. He says, X, Y, and Z. I says, could you do that? He says, yeah, I could. I says, right, this picture's from 1980. I said, you could definitely do this. He goes, yeah, man, yeah. You have to get the model. I was like, I says, okay, well, let's do it. So kind of got an idea in my head how much it cost. And we just said, right, let's do it. So got the best model I could afford. Got the best place I could afford. Got the best photographer. A friend of mine's a stylist. She looked after me big time. And got everything and just had it one day. Over in Bond Street, and was there behind the camera doing all the crack and picking the outfits and all, and that was mad. But my attitude was, I want this to look as good as anybody in the 80s had it, because surely the technology is good enough to get the light and all that. So that was the goal, to do a good shoot. So we did the shoot.
So retro type of shoot, was it?
Yeah, and it was real 80s vibe, and I put up the first post on the new Instagram, no followers, just went bang, and put the hashtag British Vogue. And I got an email from British Vogue about 2 hours later saying, do you want to advertise? Now listen, you do have to pay, right? But it's a reduced rate. It's like a quarter the price it normally is. And it's invitational. They give young designers a go. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. The price was for nothing. It was token, right? And I was like, because it's invitational. You can't just ring up Vogue and go, here, I want my bag in there. You can't if you're spending 10 grand, but not, the smaller stuff. So I jumped at it and went, do you know what, let's do it. So that was a good buzz. And it was, I hate to say one of them things, another cliche, but like, the way people think about things and they happen. But I put up a post on my Instagram slagging of me like sideways at British Vogue ahead. And like 2 months later, we were going to be in it, not on the front page now, but we were in it.
But you got there in the end.
Well, I had no idea that was going to happen. That was the last thing I was thinking. I thought a good day for me would have been getting into the Irish Independent or something. Should we did that? No hassle.
No,
we don't even talk about that one now.
yeah, man, that's incredible. And also, just doing something that you love and seeing it materialize into that was crazy. And then tell us about Vogue then. So that was British Vogue. How did you get into the main one then from there?
Well, that was it. That was the one we were in, British Vogue. So they have different sections. They've got like Dubai and all that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So we got into British.
Right.
So we're British and Irish.
And then to bring it all the way back to something that you highlighted in regards to when you were following this dream and you decided to put on an art exhibition, and the reactions of all those around you and all those closest to you. And just to highlight for the listener, the people, the closest people are the biggest killers of dreams. The people that are closest to you, although they come from love and they don't realize they're doing it. But go on, you tell me what you heard and what went on for you when you said it.
Excuse me, sorry.
You were giving up your career.
I have to say, there was a bit of slagging, obviously, from the lads. But listen, that's what friends do, or especially Irish people. Irish people, like, their way of saying "go get them" is, you know what I mean, and rip you out. But that's just how we are. We're particularly bad over here. Did you ever hear Bono talking about the difference between the Americans and the Irish?
No.
And he goes, I'm over in LA. And I'm walking down, the guy goes, American sees a guy with a big house in the hill, and he goes, I'm going to be that guy. And when he goes, when I'm back in Ireland, they see the big house in the hill, and they go, I'm going to get that guy.
Yeah, I want to rip him down.
Yeah.
He
But in
doesn't
fairness,
deserve it.
no, but in fairness, the begrudgery thing, it's an Irish thing. It is, but I have to say a bit of slagging. I don't mind people talking behind my back. It doesn't bother me one bit. It means they're behind me.
Exactly. But just it's I just want to go deeper with this and just let people recognize that when other people tell you that you're not good enough to do a certain thing, or for me it was plumbing. Why would you leave a secure job to go over
Yeah.
to a career that is unknown, to work with people and help people, and just like love and respect to one of my mom's friends who is a psychotherapist and a counselor, and she's an incredible one of the highest psychotherapists in all of Ireland, and loads of other people, and they go, oh, there's no money in that game, you're better off staying where you are to pay the bills and things of that nature. But in reality, not her in particular, but overall, people's perception is a reflection of them. So when they're telling you how you're not going to succeed at a certain thing, it's their fear in themselves that they can't succeed in that particular thing.
But people don't have the vision. That's the biggest thing. I think people's problem is they don't have vision. They don't think, big picture. Like say my exhibition, the first one, that was audacious in a lot of people's eyes. Like, wow, like why not? I know I'll learn loads on the way there. And the worst thing that's going to happen is I'll see my pictures on the wall. I know I'm not going to be the next Picasso. I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to be me and just enjoy myself, because I wanted to know what it felt like to see them all up there and see the work done. It was 10 years to get to that point, and it was very hard. And people, in fairness to them, but when they saw the stuff on the walls, things started selling, things started happening. And thank God they've been going okay since. But people did, when they see it happen, they go, actually, hold on. What we were talking about in the pub, this actually is real. He's actually doing the same with the handbags. Like, you're making handbags now. The next thing it's in Vogue, they're like, okay, he's making handbags.
And then they celebrate it.
But no, but you see, the thing is, you don't have the vision yourself.
Mate.
But like you don't, you have to have the vision. I know what you're saying, and people say, like, especially you going off leaving a good, like, you were making a few bob that plumbing, no doubt. That was a jump to take. But you see, you had a vision, you've seen something else, and you said, hold on, there's more to life than screwing in taps and all the rest of it. And no disrespect to anybody doing that, but you said to yourself, hold on, I've got a different thing here that I want to do. And like, I'm not finished yet. I just have to come up with the next idea of what I'm going to do. Do you know what I mean? I'm looking forward to it. It's all about the journey, man. It is.
Yeah, exactly. And thanks for highlighting that, Dave, then, because for me, it became a stagnant energy. I knew I was like, my soul was screaming and like, rah, like looking to jump out. And like you, some days I do 16, 17 hour days. Other days I'll do an hour. Other days, I'll do 10. But it doesn't matter. And most of the work I do, I don't get paid for. Like most of the work, like being in technology, content creation, like this is all a different world to. I'm an old school person, and I'm a private person, which is completely different to what I do online. It's like, I have to go through all of that mental noise and the fear of what people think and all of those things. But for me, the impact that it creates in people's lives, and my clients, when they realize their true potential, step into their power while releasing, trauma that has been holding them back from their childhood, like 40 years, fucking 30 years, 20 years, like whatever it is, to witness them come into their own power and their own truth is like, probably my children are the only thing, like the only experience that gives me more joy than that. you know.
That's great,
Um,
man.
and just like you said, if nobody was watching, would you be doing it? 100%. If I wasn't
Well,
getting
that's
paid,
the
would I be
thing.
doing it? 100%. So it's
Yeah, and you're blessed to find it, but you know what? You make your own
mm,
luck, and you went and found it yourself. And you think
yeah,
about what that's done for you and how it makes you feel. It's great. There's no. They say there's no such thing as true altruism, right? So there's no such thing as doing something unless you get something out of it. Right? And I've been struggling to try and find something that you can do. Of course, there's something you get back out, but if good things are happening, good vibes are spinning, comes
mm-hmm,
back out, it goes. You can sense, you could sense, if you had 5 or 6 people that you even got the thought to turn one thing around in their life. Oh man, that's great. That's a great day's work, or a great year's work. And they'll
yeah,
pass it on. They will be in
mm-hmm.
better form with their other half that they could be in trouble with or something. The positive buzz,
The
it
ripple
comes and
effect.
goes.
Yeah, the ripple effect.
Yeah,
And this is it, man. If like when, yeah, I know it's a cliche thing to say, you know, but change, like I'm going to change the world. A bit of that is ego, but also a bit of that is when you really break it down, it's not that hard to change the fucking world. I starts with a little bit of kindness to the, you know,
yeah,
everybody. For me, I make it, I always, you know, whenever I go into a shop, I read their name tag and I speak to them.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, how are you doing, Dave? How was your day? You know, and go beyond the weather or the bleeding.
yeah,
Just see them as a person and not
yeah,
be in my
yeah.
phone and sort of discard the stuff onto the checkout or whatever it is. And just that little bit of kindness, sharing a smile all day long, every day, going around
Yeah,
in this king energy and that good vibration because it ripples
yeah,
out. It ripples out. Yeah, so
for
to do
sure.
that, yeah, it's not as hard as the humans have complicated life to believe that is.
Yeah. Well, I think like I've noticed it over here with the pandemic and all, right? And you can't shut down society like that. Not let people meet up with each other, presume everybody's dirty and carrying some kind of a plague, and not think it's going to have an effect on people's mentality, putting
Mhm.
them to work. No, no, you can still work. We're just going to do it through your screen and all that kind of thing. It was a big shake up, and I think it was a very blunt instrument to sort out this problem. And it's a
Ah,
problem that with all the vaccination and all the lockdowns, they haven't fixed it yet. And if anything, it's getting worse. But now we've got the hangover to deal with. So that's not good. I think a lot of people are going to have to look after their mental health.
hugely, Dave, and thanks for highlighting that. Um, I spoke about a lot of this online last year, and now I'm not afraid to speak about it. But what I'm focusing, we know, like it's all happening.
Oh, we'll move on. No, no, no.
The momentum is happening. The momentum is happening. People are starting to realize, and it look,
Yeah,
and it's a beautiful thing. It's what's it, my mentor Preston Smiles. One of his favorite, one of his main. He's got loads of gem quotes, but you cannot stop people from making the mistakes they came here to make. So you cannot stop people from making the mistakes they came here to make. So if people believe the government are here to help them and be their god, and science is just all of a sudden taken over from nature. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
As the true religion sort of thing. Well, that's okay, and eventually it will show its hand. But the
absolutely. Time
bringing it,
reveals all.
yes, exactly. So bringing it back to the psychological impact of, and this is part of the reason why I do this podcast. Um, the psychological impact of children wearing masks and people being locked away and being afraid and this whole stay home, stay safe. What I see and hear in that is a psychological imprint slash program being downloaded to, because it's on everything. It's like they didn't miss a trick. It's on the phones, it's on the buses, it's on the news, it's on the newspapers, it's on everything. Stay home, stay safe, which insinuates you're not safe as you are. So what I'm in heute. So in our world, in life, there's a fight, flight, is or appease. That's I think that's four states of being. Fight or flight is two of the main ones.
Yeah.
So how do you operate in your life? And a lot of people are in this fight mode or flight. They're trying to avoid this, so they're wearing the mask and the hands and all of those things. But the best way of explaining this is one of my mentors is a doctor / scientist. His name is Dr. Bruce Lipton. And he goes, if you are getting chased by a saber-toothed tiger, right? You know you're fucked if that catches you, you're fucked.
Yeah.
So ultimately you go into fight mode and you're using absolutely everything you can, every ounce of energy to get away from that, right? That's running as whatever speed it goes, you're running whatever speed you go to get away from that, to save your life. But while you're giving all of your energy to your legs and your muscles and your arms in order to get away from that, your immune system is susceptible to different diseases. So when all of your energy is elsewhere in the body, your immune system is not switched on. So that said, when you're focused on all of those, your immune system is not protected. So you're inviting, especially when you're not getting sunlight, you're not getting daylight, you're not getting exercise and all of those things. So mental health is a huge thing. And the effect of it is, some people think I'm mad, how I spoke and how I speak about certain situations, but the same people are not going to realize until it's affecting them what I'm talking about, especially if they don't want to look beyond what they're being told. And again, just to bring it all the way back to, this is the purpose of the podcast. It's for people to awaken into their purpose, so whatever true story of yours or mine or whoever's, that they may go and take up art or take up selling cars or leave that 9 to 5, that box office. What would you call the box room in the office?
Yeah.
And do something that lights their heart on fire.
The bit of advice I'd give anybody is life is very, very short, and it's shorter. There's a great saying, it's later than you think, and it is. And once you accept that we're all going to die. Like, I have this analogy in my head where you've got the sand timer.
Yeah.
Our sand timer's turned over, and it's only going one way.
Yeah.
So never really, like, it's important to have some respect for what people think and things like that, but none of it's got nothing to do with them. It's like a fella going down the road and he's wearing a pair of pink trousers, and people say, "Look at your man. Who gives a shit? They're his trousers. What's got to do with you?"
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? But people are strange like that. They go, "Oh God, there must be something wrong with him." Maybe there's something. I think maybe it's something wrong with you, my friend. Yeah. They're not your trousers. They're not your legs.
Maybe he wants them. It's an Irish thing, isn't it? It's a huge Irish thing.
If you see me wearing a pair of pink trousers, go, just don't diss me.
I never would, man. I take great amusement and huge, high five when I see you do your photo shoots. And they're also what would you call it? They're your own photo shoots as well. You just create them.
Yeah. But it starts with small things. Like, people say, "Oh, geez, that's a cool jumper," or they see somebody wearing, like, knitting. Like, I know it's everybody's like, "Oh, knitting's such a lockdown," but, like, why not knit yourself a little hat? That's your hat. And you're like, "I made that." It's little things like that starts you off. You go, "Jesus, I might make a pair of gloves. Christmas is coming around. You give a mate of yours a woolly hat that you made, that you enjoyed making." Like, double hit. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's incredible. And self-satisfaction for me as well. That was when I was plumbing. Plumbing was my art because of
Yeah,
and now looking back, it's you get to see because a lot of the work you've got to visualize. So they go right.
yeah,
I need this here to get over there, and I had to visualize that in my head because there's all sorts of different routes that I need to take to avoid the electrical cables, the air conditioning, and X, Y, and Z. But
sure.
also, it's going to be seen. So you know what I mean. If you got people coming into this shop or whatever it is, school or whatever, like your art is on the wall and it's gonna be there for life. For me, I take
Function
great
and form.
satisfaction. Yeah, I take great satisfaction in making sure that's sexy.
Mm,
And that for me
nice.
was my art for many years. But
Good
yeah,
man.
for people, can you explain what it was like for you to go through the waves of change and give up the car sales? You've completely given that up, haven't you?
Oh, no, I had to go back. I
Oh, you
couldn't
went
do. I have
back.
to do everything.
All
Oh, I
right,
have to do everything
right.
because I bought a house when I was 24 with my brother, and we were lucky because it's hard to buy a house in this country, and it
Yeah,
was hard then. It's very hard now, and thank God we have it. And I'm blessed, But you know, me following the art and that it was comes to the point where to support the lifestyle of booby traps, like if the radiator burst or something like that, I need to have a grand, you know,
yeah, yeah,
and the tortured artist. So I said, oh, do you know what? I said, I'm not going to stop painting any less. So I just said the same output's going to happen. You're just going to have to go back to work. So that's what I
yeah,
did. So went back to work, but it didn't slow down the art. If anything, the art got better because
yeah,
everything I did was super focused. And I was like, if I'm going to have this spare time, I'm doing it. So, this is the whole thing. If I was working 50 hours a week in the cars, I'd still get 20 hours in to do my art. And then I try and squeeze about 20 hours drinking in as well. So, there's not too many hours. There's not too many hours left. But I'm happy. But I tell
yeah.
you, if I didn't have the art, I'd be pulling my hair out.
And you've already
No, I
pulled it
do.
out
I
before you took
enjoy
it off,
everything.
did you?
Yeah, but I enjoy everything, and I enjoy selling cars. I don't go into work because I don't like doing it. It's a
Mhm.
personal job. I'm talking to people. I enjoy it. It's fun to me. If I didn't enjoy doing it, believe me, I wouldn't do
Yeah, well, that's it's a great thing that you highlighted that as well. Is there's nothing wrong with being resourceful either. So
it. You have to
following your
be.
dreams and your heart and what gives you satisfaction is for everybody. Um, if you need to do something like whatever, if you need to do it on the side until it becomes a mainstream and gives you the revenue to
Well,
walk
don't
away.
get me wrong. I'd love to just do my art and do the bags, and just that'd be me. But at the minute, I just can't afford to do that. I'm happily
Yeah,
married, and I want to stay happily married.
yeah, yeah. And may I ask you a question? Um, would your interactions throughout the day, with certain customers give you some inspiration, some art you might want to
Yeah.
create?
Yeah, I mean, I get to meet loads of cool people. Like you meet carpenters and brickies and all that, and you meet very few artists. But you do meet people in design and architects and all. You're always like I love chatting to people, and you're sitting down, and you know the last thing you really talk about is the car. You get there eventually. People are people, and people like talking to people.
Yeah,
But I, what they do, like they actually do. You're not there to be your friend, but at the same time, when you take the sting out of the whole thing and say, listen, I'm going to look after you and you're not going to sell you a banger or anything like that. The interaction you open up with people, and even if they don't buy the car, it doesn't bother me. You met a nice person, it's cool. You get great connections.
mm. Do you know what? As you were saying that, there's something dropped in for me. I just want to highlight. It's been really interesting for me, but people ask you what do you do, right? You're working, and for some reason, I only noticed this like the last year or two maybe, but some a lot of people ask you what you do, and from your
Yeah,
answer, they decide what the level of respect you're going to get. And I
exactly.
read that on the guy's Instagram page called Shaka Bars. He's an English guy. He's an African. He's incredible. But when I changed career, I noticed that, and just to bring it back, as you spoke about brickies and carpenters and plumbers and electricians, and it's it's a trade that you'll have with you for life, and you can bring it anywhere in the world. Everyone recognizes that as that, but it's also just a thing that people don't seem to give a lot of respect to. But when you peel it back, man, like without those things, like that is huge art, carpentry, bricklaying. Like you don't have a house without bricks, and the same with carpentry. You don't have this beautiful interior design without that, and plumbing and so on. But what I find when I was plumbing, and I tell people, and they sort of go, whatever. But when I tell them what I do now, I'm a personal development and a life coach, specialize in their confidence and mindset, and they go, what? Like, whoa, what is that? And it's like, like an alien just landed there from space. But isn't it really interesting?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. So if we think about that, right, I've often thought about this. If somebody asks me what I do, I hate answering the question, right? I used to hate it when I was full-time art. And even when you said them sell cars, to me, it's a very rude question. I'd never ask somebody what they do for a living. It's just me. That's just me, right? But I'd rather talk to them and like find out what they are rather than who or what they do.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it? And I was often going, geez, like, I'm an artist, and people used to love hearing that. Like, oh, cool, wow, that's so good and all. But I felt that very humbling, because there are people. I felt bad for a while, because I was like, no, there's people out there who are doing this as a living, and I know they're struggling, and they're 10 times the art style, and they can't make a buck. They just can't. The market in Ireland's too small, and it's a very closed shop, the art game. The galleries all have their favorites, and they take half your money, and they push, like they promote certain artists, and that's fine. That's how the game works, no problem. But I went like the rappers in the 90s. I set up my own label kind of thing and just did my own thing.
Yes, I love
it. And that's the way I did it. And that's why I've had I've got 5 or 6 exhibitions there now done. One of them was the handbags. It tips along. You do prints, you do the paintings. I have my little studio that I work out of. It's all done as serious as possible, and you promote it as much as you can on social media. That's another thing you had to learn. You said it yourself there. It's a different thing. So like it's all encompassing. At the same time, if you don't like it and you're not fully into it and doing it for you, you'll never make it.
Really.
And when I say make it, I mean be happy.
Yeah, and that's ultimately the goal, really, isn't it?
That's all it is. Money doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're in today's age, everybody is, not everybody, but society. Let me reframe that. So society paints a picture of the goal of life is finding happiness. And the reality is it's found inside. But yeah, thanks for highlighting that. And I just want to ask it, like, so this is exactly it. This is the waves of change, and the importance of pivoting. So I don't want to say my world, but in what we recognize, the pivot is one of the most powerful tools one can use. Whenever we know something is not working, we pivot to something else and just cut off that piece and keep moving, instead of staying locked in, if I'm no longer a plumber, nobody's gonna know me, that's my identity. And my ma told me I should, or my dad told me I should support Man United, and if I don't support Man United, like, who the fuck am I? All this type of stuff. But for you changed over, you took the leap of faith, and you became an artist. You allowed your soul to speak. Let me reframe that. You allowed your soul to speak. And
I have to say, with the first lockdown, I struggled with it. Like, over here, we locked down in March, and everything was just gone. And my creativity just went, it's gone. Forget about it. It's gone. drank too much, bored out of my head, couldn't meet me mates. Like, we were living in Camden Street every night, drop into the local and I'm sure have a couple of pints, and that was the crew. You wouldn't be going to get hammered, but you'd have 2 or 3 pints, say hello to everybody, catch up, how was your day, blah, 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 blah. Here's some cool stories. Head home, meet the wife and hang out. And that was all gone. So for me, it was like a massive part of my social life gone, because I love meeting people. Couldn't do it anymore. You know, that was a killer. But to get back on the horse, like you said, to pivot, took me a while. Took me a few months, even to get back trained. Didn't lift a weight, didn't do anything, eating wrong, the works, and that just makes you worse and worse and worse. And it was starting to spiral. It was starting to spiral. I just said, "Jeez, just got out of it." But getting moving again was the hard part. Getting out of bad habits. The phone was a killer. Just looking at the phone all day, reading the news. Oh my God.
Oh, stop
Had to
it.
so I started doing online courses and just got myself busy again.
Brilliant. And I just want to commend you on that pivot, Dave, and recognizing you were in a rut and making the change. And you know, it's also breaks my heart, because when I hear you speak that, I envision the effect on, I think it's, you know, millions of people. I think it's 5.5 million people in Ireland now, and that's your one story. And it's also, it's sad because, you know, online, I just deleted Twitter. I have it, but I've deleted it so I don't have access to it. And you know, you see people defending these government polls, and it's like, you know, it's for me, I've had many discussions, heated discussions with people that, you know, choose this formula, this piece of paper, and I'm like, I care about people. I'm speaking to people. If somebody tells me what's going on in their mind, in their life, the thoughts they have mentally, and how it's affecting them physically and in their everyday life, man, that's where my heart and compassion. I don't care about your fucking numbers on the screen. So to witness people defend and say this, oh, the masks don't cause any, like, I don't want to bring it to that conversation, but for people to say, oh, look at this data, this poll told me that everybody's fine. You know what I mean? Everybody's okay because this poll said it, which is rigged and it's easy to control by whoever created
it. I felt very let down by media, the science industry, and tech, the censoring, doctors not coming up and talking about stuff they know is clearly wrong. It's like a 3-pronged disappointment, and especially media, I think people are copping on to it. I mean, when you've got the fox minding the chickens, they're not they're loving the hysteria of it all, because the advertising they're getting is off the charts. They're getting loads, they're getting government handouts. There's this good news initiative, bollocks, which is basically a government saying, listen, we'll give certain news outlets a grant. They're basically paying and wondering and saying that there won't be a conflict of interest. Give me a break. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, in one of the most corrupt countries.
It's beyond parody now at this stage, but I think people are starting to turn it. Like over here, they promised everybody, they just coerced everybody into it. They know we love drinking here. So they said, if you want to go back to the pub, you have to have your vaccine. Everybody's getting vaccinated, but everybody will tell you, I wanted to go on holiday. I wanted to go to the pub. There's nothing about health. I want to go back to, there's nothing there about health. They did it because they just said, and they'll give us our life back. Well, guess what? They're not going to give your life back. And as they say, you can't comply your way out of tyranny.
Yes, I love it. And well, I don't love it, but just highlighting that, it's it's interesting.
And it is that serious now.
Yeah, it is. And now it's a double-edged sword now, because it's at the fast forward and awakening. But like at the end of the day, we don't need a government to fucking control how we live and how we be and all of those things. But
it's
really highlighting the underbelly of how society is run. So look at it'll sort itself out. And just to highlight there as well, we know a guy here who is the head of the main network. So it's like you've got BBC, you've got ITV, you've got Sky Sports and Sky, all of that stuff. But over here, he's the head of one of them, and he's the head of the news room in one of them. And we listen to him in kids' fucking birthday party celebrate the gift that keeps on giving. So they pump out this perpetual fear-based propaganda that is psychologically bleeding, destroying the minds of millions. And here's a guy celebrating it. And I'm just like, whoa, okay, I'll see you later. I don't want to talk to you.
Oh, but the people in power are loving this. The transfer of wealth has been nothing short of disgusting.
Yeah.
And it's burying people, and the bills are going to have to be paid, and they're going to go back and lash them out of it now with taxes.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. It has to be paid for.
Like, all of that free money, and I had that as well. And do you know that in I'm going to come away from this after this because I want to be about the vision of the future. But do you know that exactly a week after Ireland cleared the loan of the bailout from 2008, they got a new loan off the European Union exactly a week after the last payment of, I think it was 30 billion or 32 billion, and a really very, very prominent figure in our family and told me about that and celebrated it because it's interest free. I'm like, oh man, do you understand how the geopolitics
we could talk for hours about how that machine is broken.
Yeah.
That machine is well and truly broken.
So anyways, let's pivot away from that back into the vision of the future, and just also what it was like for you mentally going through those waves and being okay with it. Like, oh, I'm going back to work, but I'm not, like, what was it like? Did you think you were a failure because you were going back to work, or what was the
I had taken out, this was my second sabbatical, so to speak. So in January or in December 19, I was working over in a garage, and I had lined up that I was going to take 5 months or 6 months off to go and do a course in UX, user experience design, which is all like how the websites work. So if you go into an app and you book a flight, how smooth it works. So I did a course in that, and the idea was to go working at that because I felt it'd be creative and out meeting people and doing stuff like that, coming up with solutions. So I handed me notice in and then started the course, and then bang, I had interviews lined up for March and April, started the first round of them, and then everything got shut down. So I wasn't on put payment or any of that crack, obviously, because I had elected to go off. So I had no income at all. So I had no income until last September, year and 9 months. So that's where the handbags came. But then trying to sell handbags to women that they are going to wear out to nightclubs. The nightclubs are closed. So it was non-stop. And then I was getting them handmade in London. And then Brexit was happening. So prices were going up on everything. So everything went wrong. You name it, it went wrong. But you just have to keep going. And I managed to pull it out of the bag, if you excuse the pun, and got it going. And it tipped along. But because there was so much uncertainty and all the rest of it, any other year I would have, but after a year and 6 months or so, I got offered a job to go back to the trade, and I said, "Jeez, I have to take it," because it's very hard to survive for a year and 6 months with no income. And when you're starting a business, all you're doing is putting money into it. You're not getting that out of it.
Yeah.
I was selling a few paintings to keep me going, and I had a mortgage to pay back and the other gaff and things like that. So it was all go. But you just stick with it. You put the gum shield in, the gloves up, and keep going.
Keep going. And did you go back to the same garage?
No.
Showroom, different.
No. Different one, yeah. So it's close enough, and that was handy too. the lads know me. I'm good at what I do, and it's a great place to work. And you just have to take the few quid when it's there.
Yeah, there's certainly nothing wrong with that. It opens up space elsewhere. Just
That's
to
it.
yeah, it opens up space to do what you love. So that's
Oh no, we'll be back.
100%.
Things can only get better. I mean, the idea, the thing is, you have to look at it like a war, and you say, right, this is what I want. We're going to get to it there, and that keeps you focused. Of course, you have bad days. I reckon one day every 3 months, I just go, oh, so I just stare out the window. But then I wake up in the morning. But then I wake up in the morning ready to go again. It's like a little
Yeah.
reset I do every so often, and
Mm.
I'm very much aware that I'm blessed in a lot of ways. And it's okay to feel down every so often. There's nothing wrong with it. It's normal. If you didn't, you wouldn't have, there has to be some kind of reality. You can't just
Yeah.
go out and think everything's going to be gravy, because it's not. But I'm a very happy person, very lucky person. Got a great wife,
Well,
great
that's it,
family.
isn't it? What if
Yeah.
you don't know sadness? What is it? If you don't know sad, if you've never felt sad, you can't know happy. Up and
I think
down.
50
And
Cent had a good one. If it wasn't for rain, sunny days wouldn't be good and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, this is true, and for me, that's where the learning is. From it,
Yeah.
you don't learn when you're winning. You learn when
No,
you're
you
getting
don't.
kicked around the floor.
Yeah.
By a business,
A bit of failure is great.
by life. Yeah. You win and learn.
No, everything that's gone wrong, everything. Like, try to have an exhibition. I tried to have 2 in the lockdown, and every time you're promoting it, you're getting people to agree to go. It got cancelled. Got cancelled a second time 6 months later. Handbags, there was a failed launch because the bags weren't arriving from England because of Brexit and all this stuff.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
always something. But you have to just keep going. You'll get there. It'll take a bit longer.
Yeah. And then that's the thing, isn't it? 10 years to become an overnight success. So that's what a lot of these designers have done in their life. And then now they're fucking, Alexander McQueen and X, Y, and Z. Name a few. But
Absolutely.
just to highlight, just bring it all the way back then about your father. We'll highlight this at the start. And, you spoke about, I don't know whether he retired or he was close to retirement.
He was just finishing up. Yeah,
So,
he worked for himself.
At 66, he was just finishing up and to go on. And
he was winding down.
Yeah.
So he used his hands to work, and his motor neuron came in through his mouth. So he was on the phone to me one day, and he started slurring his words. And he didn't really drink. I was like, "You having a few jars?" He goes, "No." So he went off, got him checked. They couldn't find that. 6 months later, he was getting worse. He says, "There's something wrong with me," and that was very sad for the man. And then the doctors eventually said, "Oh, we got the results back. Actually, we were wrong. You do have motor neuron, and you've got about a year and a half." So, and his hands started getting worse then, and he couldn't do his tools. He loved working. So that was a killer for a man like that.
Was he a mechanic?
Yeah, a car electrician. So, yeah.
Oh, car electrician, yeah. So, how does motor neurons work? So it attacks your nervous system. Is that correct?
Yeah. So sometimes it can go up through your legs. His was from his throat, so he couldn't swallow very well, and his voice went. So that was a killer for him. He had to talk through text messages and all. It was very tough for him. Tough for my mother as well. So, when you see all that crack, you can only wake up no matter what. Once I have a couple of quid in my pocket, I'm healthy. There's very little I'm not afraid of,
Yeah, and with would it would it have mattered if they if they knew it sooner, if they caught it earlier? Or
there's no cure for this. It's game over.
Wow.
Charlie Bird, your man who used to do the news, he's after getting diagnosed with it. It's awful.
I know the name. I can't. Oh, I know the name. I can't place his face.
Yeah, he's after getting diagnosed. Yeah.
So just
it's a death sentence. Like that's what it is. It's 2 years.
Is that part of what Muhammad Ali
He had
Parkinson's.
Parkinson's. Yeah, they're kind of cousins, I think.
Yeah, right. So just the reason both things, just to highlight that, and then also like the promise of the happily ever after is never guaranteed, and the real, like, it is the journey. The life is the journey.
Yeah.
So what would you say to anybody who is banking on that, you know? And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. I lived this life for a long time. You know, worked all year to go on holiday once a year or maybe twice a year to Spain for a week or 2 weeks, or, you know, in that societal routine.
Yeah.
But also for people who are banking on, you know, that routine to also, because in 2008 wasn't all the bleeding not mortgages, people's
Subprime.
retirements were wiped out, weren't they?
That's right, yeah.
So people banking
There-
all of this all their life in the hope that
yeah.
the happily
Look,
ever after comes when you
there's no
retire.
guarantees, and you know, tomorrow isn't promised, that's for sure. What advice would I give anybody? I'd say don't become a weekend warrior. It'll catch up with you before you know it. 10 years are gone. Did plenty of that too, but you know, if you find that you're going out and you're just blowing yourself up every weekend and going back to work on Monday, first of all, you're not going to excel in your career because you're used to still Tuesday or Wednesday. So you're going to be a poor employee and you're going to not get promotions or any of that crack. Secondly, take every second week off and do something with it. Go to the beach, do something, go for a walk up a hill, find something you get something out of. Because when you're working all week for a company that really doesn't give a fuck about you, like if you died, if you died, they'd all be sad for a day or two and they'd hire somebody else. I mean, you have to start thinking about, you know, I'm in the Dave Sullivan business. You know, that's number one. And when Dave's happy, everybody else is happy. Because if I'm not happy, I won't, you know, it comes out. But, you know, I would say definitely start thinking about number one more. And that doesn't mean just going out in the piss. Start doing different things. If you get something out Saturday and Sunday, you could be surprised how much crack you can pull out of things. Go to a gallery, do stuff you don't normally do. You start doing that, you go, hold on, there's a life here. There's a whole new life. You know, being hungover on Sundays, I'm not like, look, I do this all the time too. Don't get me wrong. I love going on the piss. But that's the advice I give to anybody, because more often than not, boozing is a big part of it, and it can take it out of you Sunday. Monday you're not great. Tuesday you're coming around. Before you know it's Friday or Thursday, and let's get back on.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
guns are out.
and
The guns show, the suede shoes.
before you know, time is gone. But listen, I'm not one to talk. I've had a lot of fun and continue to have fun. But just try and get the balance right. Don't forget about you.
Yeah, 100%. I love that, Dave. And I've done all of the above, the session from one end of the week to the other. Yeah, if you're not out dancing your ass away, you're bleeding, kicking your ass off the floor from Monday to Thursday, and then you're back around in that repetitive cycle again, which I had a great time doing. Don't let know, but it also came at a cost in the end. And the second thing to highlight is just one I'll highlight with, you know, how do you think that ends up? Just for anybody, how do you think that lifestyle ends up? Going and getting to Friday and being on the piss. Like, I used to go out and not come home till fucking it was time to go to work on Monday morning. So that was like, you know, when you're bulletproof, when you're bulletproof back in the day.
It's grand till you get to a certain age. Well, it's not grand because you get yourself into trouble, you know, and you do get in trouble. You know, if you get to the point where you're going out that much and things like that, before you know it, like I said, 10 years have gone through and you don't remember them really, you know.
It's a house.
It's short term. It's short term buzz, and you have to be careful of things that are short term spikes. Just like if you can find a life that's just going like, you know, a nice little buzz, you're definitely more aware of stuff, and you have better relationships with people and things like that. You know, people are often afraid of, I don't drink, and if I don't go out, people won't like me. You'd be surprised. The Plenty
Yeah.
of people out there that are thinking the same way.
Yeah.
And I noticed that when I did the courses, I went into, I think I said it earlier, the figurative classes. It was like on a Thursday night, and you were drawing pictures of people, in the nip. It was gas. Every day, every night you go in, it could be a huge, big, fat fella, or it could be a gorgeous, girl. You didn't know, because that didn't matter. It was about drawing them. But the people that were there, you could see a lot of them weren't the boozy type. Yeah, they were good-looking people, a lot of them, and there was older people and younger people, but there were people that weren't into the pub culture, and they just wanted to go out and meet people who had like-minded ideas. And I'll tell you one thing, if I was a single man, I'd be going back to the art classes. You meet great people at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Take note, and good on you for highlighting that as well. For me, I stumbled into this career. I didn't. I wasn't like actively looking for my purpose. I didn't even know what the fuck a purpose was at the time. I don't recall knowing, but the course blew me wide open. It was a weekend workshop that blew me wide open, and I came out of that like the world needed to. Why are people suffering when these tools are so readily available? How do people not know about this work? That's what my I couldn't believe the transformation that I witnessed. 70 or 72 people or 74 people make in 2 days. Um, so I stumbled into what I do now. And part of that was trying something new. I'd never been to a workshop before. And I went in, and this thing, like, to say it blew me open, and
That's the great thing. The access
gave
that's
me a
out there
good.
now, like you, if you're online, it's amazing. People can do things like it's all there. Like screens and all, less screen time is better, but it's different if you're talking to somebody, and people can get in touch with like-minded people. Like the stuff you're doing is very cool.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Dave. So tell us a quick one. How can people find you, and avail of your wares? Sexy bag,
Well,
bringing sexy back. The
the
Irish
handbags are.
stylist.
I have I put the artwork onto the handbag website because I spent a fortune doing the website. So I said I may as well pile the art into it too. So Druis, Druis.ie. It's actually pronounced Drush, Drush.ie, and you'll find my artwork there and things like that. But look, I'm on Instagram as well at Abaya Design. I don't really talk to people on Instagram. I just put up pictures of the stuff I'm doing. I try to stay away from social media as much as I can these days. It's apart from
really
sending memes around. I love sending memes.
yeah, I used to love your impromptu. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah,
Oh
your
yeah.
impromptu photo shoots after a couple of Guinnesses.
Yeah. I had to close that account down. It's taking up too much time. I was getting myself into trouble. I was going out for sessions and saying hello to everybody in the middle of the night.
Stop it! And the creativity that came in them photo shoots.
Look,
When you can read between the lines.
nobody died. I suppose it wasn't too bad.
Well, this is it. You found yourself. You found your purpose, and you took the
Listen,
leap
Darragh,
of faith.
thanks a minute for having me on this. It was a pleasure. Great to see you, and the best luck over there.
Thank you very much. There is one final question. I will say thanks before it. Thanks very much for your time, Dave. I myself was on a session the last time we tried to get this one over the line. And it was one of those ones. So I got up at 4 a.m. to get this going, but it was like, you're seeing the clock. It's getting closer. I think I had you in for 5 a.m. and the clock is getting closer to 5 a.m. It's just like, fuck. I'm gonna have to call this one. I'm gonna have to call it. But
a fisherman always sees another fisherman from afar. Don't you worry, I understand.
Thank you very much for coming back on. So Dave, what does the waves of change mean to you?
They're constant. They're always moving, and you never know what the next one's gonna bring. But they can be good and they can be bad. But the trick is just keep on surfing, baby.
Yes.
You'd swear I practiced that, wouldn't you?
Yes, that was fucking jackpot. I was going to say in true creativity style. It went out like Steve McQueen as one of those famous rock stars with a huge lyric. Brother, thank you very much for your time. It's been really fun. And I'm looking forward to staying connected, looking forward to getting home to see you guys. We will be home. We're being flexible with it all. We will be home this summer. We're going to be flexible with the dates.
We'll catch you. And I hope your listeners enjoyed this. Talk to you, bro.
Cheers, brother. Thank you. Give my love to Ciara as well.
I will, of course.
Congratulate her. She's doing amazing, amazing things.
She sure is. Yeah, she sure is. Flow with key. See you, bro.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If anything resonated for you, please leave a comment below. If there's anyone who may need to hear, please share. I love this. Have a lovely day.